Okay, so let's talk about DYDX. We all know it's a giant in the world of decentralized derivatives, right? A real powerhouse in the DeFi space. But here's the thing, even the biggest players have their weak spots. Today, we're going to dig in and explore the risks and challenges that are kind of hiding just beneath the surface of this crypto giant.
So what are those fractures? Well, the truth is, when you're a leader in a space that moves this fast, nothing is guaranteed. There are some serious pressures, both inside and out, that could totally change the game for them. We're going to break it all down into the 3 core areas of risk that DYDX is facing right now.
All right, first up, the external pressures. These are all the forces coming from the outside world that DYDX constantly has to deal with.
And man, is it a battlefield out there. The first big challenge? Just insane competition. You've got the decentralized exchange space, which is, let's be honest, ridiculously crowded. New projects are popping up all the time. But DYDX isn't just fighting off other DeFi protocols. Nope. They're also going head-to-head with the massive, established, centralized exchanges. It's like fighting a war on 2 fronts for every single user.
Then you've got this giant shadow that's always looming, regulation. See, DYDX is a global platform, dealing with complex financial stuff like derivatives. That makes it super vulnerable to sudden, unpredictable rule changes in any country. You could wake up one morning and find out a new law in a key market just completely changed the game for them, literally overnight.
And of course, you can't forget about the crypto coaster. You know what I'm talking about. The value of the DYDX token, at the end of the day, is chained to the health of the entire crypto market. So, the platform itself could be firing on all cylinders, doing everything right, but if Bitcoin or the major altcoins take a nosedive, well, the DYDX price is getting dragged down right along with them. It's just the nature of the beast.
Okay, so that covers the outside world. Now let's turn our attention inward and look at the second category, the internal challenges. These are the stresses coming from inside the system itself, risks that are baked right into the protocol's design and its economics.
A really big internal factor is how the tokens were first given out. Look, it's totally standard practice. A huge chunk of DYDX tokens went to early investors and the team to get things off the ground. But the catch is, those tokens are on a timer. As they unlock over time, you get this predictable, massive wave of potential sell pressure hitting the market. It's something that can definitely weigh on the price.
Another risk from the inside? Concentration. You might think of a decentralized exchange as this sprawling marketplace, but for DYDX, a massive majority of its liquidity, its lifeblood, is often tied up in just a few key trading pairs. It's kind of like putting all your eggs in 1 or 2 baskets, and that can make things, well, a little fragile.
And that leads to a pretty serious question, right? If the whole platform's health is leaning so heavily on just 1 or 2 assets, what happens if one of those assets suddenly stumbles or crashes? That's a huge liquidity risk, especially when the market gets choppy and unpredictable.
Then there's the whole challenge of governance. On paper, decentralized governance sounds amazing, power to the people. But in reality, it can be super slow and just bogged down in process. And even worse, you can get a situation where a few whales, investors holding a massive amount of tokens, can pretty much control the vote. So much for decentralization, huh? It can make the whole platform really slow to adapt to market changes.
And this brings us to a really core dependency. The value of the DYDX token is directly tied to how much trading is happening on the exchange. Think of it like this. More trading equals more demand for the token. So if that trading volume ever dries up, maybe because of a bear market or new competition, then the demand for the token itself could just fall off a cliff.
All right, that brings us to our third and final category, the underlying technology risks. We're talking about the nuts and bolts here, the code, the core foundation that everything else is built on top of.
So at the very heart of DYDX, and really all of DeFi, you have smart contracts. Just think of them as little bits of code that automatically carry out deals and transactions based on a set of rules. They are the engine that makes the whole system run.
And this, right here, this is the existential threat for any DeFi project. You can have all the security audits in the world, but there's always a chance that there's a tiny bug or an exploit hidden in the code that nobody's found yet. And if a hacker finds it, it could lead to a catastrophic loss of user funds. We're talking about wiping people out and destroying trust in the platform, maybe forever. Now, DYDX recently made a big move to its own blockchain. It's built using something called Layer 2 tech. The easiest way to think about it is like they built a super fast, super cheap private highway on top of a main congested blockchain. This is awesome for speed and fees, but it's also brand new territory. That brings a lot of uncertainty about how stable it'll be in the long run and whether the rest of the crypto ecosystem will really get on board.
And finally, let's talk about the complexity barrier. For a professional trader, DYDX is a work of genius. It's powerful, it's sophisticated, and it has all the tools they need. But for everyone else, for the average person, it can be seriously intimidating. And that complexity is a huge hurdle that prevents mainstream adoption and really caps the platform's potential user base. So when you pull it all together, DYDX is basically fighting a war on 3 separate fronts. From the outside, you've got that intense competition, lurking regulators, and the crazy crypto market. On the inside, it's dealing with tricky tokenomics, clunky governance, and concentrated risk. And at its very foundation, you've got the tech risks, potential code exploits, new infrastructure, and a level of complexity that keeps a lot of people away. But look, laying all these challenges out isn't about saying DYDX is doomed. Not at all. It's about understanding the battlefield. So the real question becomes this: are these challenges going to be the platform's downfall, or are they the very things that will force it to innovate, to get stronger, and to solidify its place as a leader in the future of finance? That's the big question, and that's what we'll all be watching. Thanks for joining us.